Hello, welcome back to the Peace of Mind Makers podcast. I have a very special episode to share with you all today. My very, very good friend and business coach, Marie, is going to be joining me for a little guest interview. And I was just going to be doing a Zoom style interview with her tuning in from Buffalo, New York, but she spontaneously decided to come visit me. So she's here in person.
Here. Hi.
Yay! So this is obviously
So
a very
excited.
special edition of the Peace of Mind Makers podcast, which honestly would not exist without Marie because she has helped me along every step of the way in forming my business and getting myself off the ground as a freelancer and an entrepreneur. And I have started basically pinpointing my services using her as like my muse and my influence and inspiration, as I was studying astrology and everything. So before I just go talking everyone's ear off, thank you, Marie, for joining me.
Super excited to be here. Like Aaron said, Marie Rachelle from Buffalo, New York. I'm the founder of Conversions Coworking that just opened this week. Finally, super excited. Aaron had a lot to do with that. So it's going to be really fun to talk about our synergy and how, I originally started off as her business coach, but then she low-key ended being my business coach. So you're in for it.
And with that being said, we might as well just get right into it. So pretty much like a year and a half ago, beginning of 2021 is when I finally decided I need to make this investment in myself and have Marie as my business coach, because I was lacking in like the organizational skills and all of the just actual business aspects of running a business and making it successful. Have all these, big ideas and big picture kind of motivations and ambitions, and it's the execution that I always need some assistance with. And I really admired Marie's drive and ability to just execute her goals, no matter how ambitious they are, which we're going to talk about some crazy ambitious goals that she has just achieved recently.
It's over. Woo!
Yes.
All the goals are over.
And that's another reason why we're here together, celebrating a little bit now that is all taken care of and underway. So as I started trying to decide, okay, I need like a website, I want to offer services to people, I know I'm a great coach. I started as like a fitness trainer, and then I'm like, online coaching is something I want to do, but like I care more than just the fitness aspect of like well-being. I love, mindset kind of work and self-awareness work. And around the same time, I was
sorry, I'm gonna move it just a little bit. Okay, that's fair.
You're more centered.
That's better. Yeah,
okay,
way
cool.
Better. Okay, cool. Thanks.
The camera's kind of blocking like your face, so I couldn't tell
I know.
where you were anyway.
Okay.
But so I basically was studying astrology at the same time and using that to model my like schedule and plan things out and kind of sync myself up with more natural cycles. I felt more connected to that than following like business plans that you would like find online normally. That didn't really resonate as much with me. And the more I leaned into doing that, first of all, I got tons of encouragement from Marie, which is always great, because as you're doing stuff like that, you never know who's going to start to like raise your eyebrow, be like, what is this? Because, it's not exactly, I don't know how you want to put
like,
it.
what is astrology coaching?
Yeah,
what
right.
Is that?
Like it's, everybody has little horoscope apps that you download and you get your little blurb of the day, and you're like, I don't know what they're basing that off of. So I kind of take all the mystery out of that and have a really personal connection to my clients, and can give you the personalized horoscopes directly onto your calendar. And I was like, this is something I feel like a lot of business-minded people could benefit from. So Marie was my little guinea pig and agreed to be my test client with this program that I started designing around astrology coaching.
And that's really the reason we're here. So it's interesting because we were going to do this podcast, like Aaron was saying, on Zoom, and I was trying to promote it, right? I was like, okay, I want to cross promote this, put this on my channels and all that stuff. And I said, we don't have any pictures together. Like, how lame is that?
A year and a half, and we had never met in person.
What was September of 2020?
Is when we
So
started
like
talking.
that's a long time ago. And I'm like, you're only 5 hours away. Let me just like hop in my car and we'll go there. So we did, which is super fun. Which is another thing, honestly, I should probably, let's see, like, let's do a live little thing. So Eric, did you do my thing for this one? Let's see. Did it come out this way?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, here it is.
There you go.
Well, okay. I do that. There's some things that I do that I listen and then I don't
I'm not
really
sure if I
listen
wrote
so much.
this before I knew you were coming or not. I don't remember.
So if you've been feeling eager to splurge, overindulge, or let loose in some way, you may want to pause before making an impulsive decision that you need to recover from. Instead, focus that energy on being in recovery mode and lean further into doing things that benefit your well-being, which is this. So that's true. Self-reflection will help you realize something about yourself that will lead to clarity. You need to embrace peace and relaxation. So super freaking cool. I love this app that you use. And I really do. I look at it when I have those moments where I'm like, should I do this? Should I not do it? Or how am I feeling? Or why am I so cranky today? Or, like, what should I do? Should I stay home? Should I go out? Like, I guess if I back up a little bit, very serious business person. Okay. I'm super serious business person, not so much like a person, like super serious. But when it comes to work, it's very black and white, being a freelancer and now being an entrepreneur and opening up space and having like 2 kids. Like, I can't be just like willy-nilly. I have to, put things a certain way.
You're very intentional with your time.
And it kind of leads me to why I have you, is because, and this may sound arrogant or what have you, but I just felt like I didn't need a business coach. I have a bachelor's in business. I've been in business for a long time. This is not my first rodeo. I've opened other businesses and I'm like, I don't really need someone to tell me how to open a business. Like, I get that. I teach that. I need someone that will help me realize my own stuff, for lack of a better word, just stuff, and like how I relate to, I guess, what we call the universe, the sun, moon, and the stars. Like, I wholeheartedly believe in those things. And regardless where you're at with like your faith, like we talk about this all the time too, is that is the sun, the moon, and the stars, being created. So knowing where I fit in those pieces, and I already know I'm very hard-headed about business and like where I want to go with that, but how I can really improve it and make it better by implementing my placement and like my actual placements of, who I am. So I want to hear a little bit more about like this plan, which I know I've kind of been guinea pigging for a while, but when you're in something and you're like, oh, I'm in it, I don't really understand it. So like, I like to hear like what kind of experiment I'm a part of.
Yeah. Well, so I started off with like just like the moon and the sun, doing like lunar cycles and like the solar cycles of like the sun changing zodiac signs every month. So I started with 2-week plans and 4-week plans. I was like, that's a good place to start, and then Marie suggested, she's like, why don't you do like business quarters, like do like a quarterly plan? I was like, that's a great idea. I would have never thought of that because I don't have the business aspect of my mind, running all the time like she does. But that's why I fill in the gaps for her as well with all this juicy.
I'm not so touchy-feely. I'm not the touchy-feely.
I'm very sensitive to all this other stuff. So I was like, okay, well, let me just like, jot that down and I'll keep it in the back of my mind and I'll like come up with something that makes sense within my like realm of understanding how to like coach people. And as I was learning about different aspects of the zodiac signs, I realized there's 4 seasons, 4 quarters of the year, and each chunk has, the same pattern of cardinal sign in the beginning, and then a fixed sign in the middle, and then a mutable sign as the last month of that season before you transition into a new season. And I was like, that's it right there. That's the structure that you can follow no matter what season you're in, to start with the cardinal sign where you're initiating things. And it also kind of helps you understand the signs better as you're moving through the seasons, because you're like, oh, okay, that's
well,
what.
seasons and quarters work very similarly.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because being in business, you do think in quarters, but why do we think in quarters? And I feel like there's, you know, a
Because of the
long
seasons.
backstory to
Yeah.
why that works that way. Right?
Exactly right. I mean, like every calendar is that we use now is pretty much based on like, you know, tracking different cycles. You know, even the year is based off of the Earth's orbit of the sun.
Mhm.
So it's just like tracking the different, you know, cycles, which we kind of already do, and we just like take for granted. Like I said, it's like we have this like system in place that now is all about like business and numbers and whatnot, but it's really is based on the fact that the year can be broken into 4 different chunks, you know.
And there's been so many times too that I'll be like, you know, oh, you know, this section of my freelance life is kind of coming to an end, and you know, I want to do these things like hosting freelance week, right?
Right.
And opening my co-working space. And it was funny, I vaguely recall, but I do remember having a conversation a while ago of you saying like, oh, this is the year of, it was like my year of
Self-care.
Self-care, but like a year of like things in my chart. It was like 10 years ago that I started whatever it is that I'm doing right now, right? So it's crazy because someone who, if you feel like you're in tune and things just kind of happen and you're like, oh, like I have good luck, or like, oh, I have good karma, or oh, you know, all these things that just like line up for you when you work hard. Like, I'm not saying it just like comes, but when I realize I'll have these things happening to me and I'll be like, oh, Erin, like this is the year, like I'm opening my space and I'm launching this and I'm gonna publish my book, like all this really cool big stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, well, this is the year of X for you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh wow, like I'm already on the path.
Yeah,
but I don't
like,
even realize that I'm on it sometimes.
Like even recently now you're like literally like starting a new kind of quest as like an entrepreneur and like moving into like bigger projects, and like it's literally is lining up with the fact that Jupiter just moved into Aries like literally yesterday.
Oh, that's me, isn't it?
And yeah, we're
Aries,
Aries rising over here, Aries rising clan. And so having that as your first house means like you would be like basically like reinventing like yourself almost, because the first house is like your rising.
Exactly.
Like,
and you
so
know,
it's like a new beginning, and Jupiter is like the planet of like expanding and like
100%.
so like,
and I get that all the
lines up.
time. Okay.
So even when you're not even like really trying, like you're in tune with, you know, yourself and with what's going around you, and when you have that like self-awareness, you just lock into it. And like having these little like, you know, notes to just encourage you, and they just make you feel like, yeah, wait, no, there's actually are signs that are pointing this out, that like I'm doing all this for a reason. I'm not just crazy. Like
I'm super lucky, you know, a lot of the time I feel really aligned, and that's because I've done a lot of other types of work and lots of therapy, that I feel really good about what I do. But then, you know, we'll talk and it'll reaffirm that. And I think, excuse me, something I really want to share is that, like I said, I don't really need the business aspect of things. And so what am I? So Capricorn rising?
No, you're Capricorn sun.
Capricorn sun,
Sagittarius
moon, Aries
rising. Yeah.
So all the things, super like.
And so
stubborn.
you don't have to be an expert in astrology.
I'm not. I ask her every time.
You know, gain all the value from this, obviously.
I'll be like, what am I again? And you know, a lot of the times I'll be like, oh, that makes like a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Like when I get cranky, we're like, oh, fire, Sagittarius. Okay. Like I get that a lot. Yeah. But I did a lot of other work, and you know, I'm very stubborn, you know, and I'm very black and white, and I don't like to listen to other people. And if people say like, oh, that's possible, or oh, that's not possible, I'm like, no, it is. Like, I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna do it anyway. Sometimes though, and to be like a little bit vulnerable, that portion of business as an entrepreneur, like that's super lonely.
Yeah.
Right. Having even the people who get you and understand you and love you be like, I still don't understand that. Like, I don't get that. That's hard.
Your circle's like, already so small and
oh,
chosen.
It makes it worse.
But then when the people in that circle are kind of like, okay, like I do trust that you'll get it done.
Like, you're great. You're great.
Like,
it'll happen.
But like they're not really clicking with it.
But I'm just like, oh, you don't get it. Well, other people get it. But the really important thing is that I get it. And with this coaching and what we've been doing for what, like a little over a year now, probably. is that it's me, right? It's me and my placements telling me what is good for me. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm a little selfish, and when I hear myself say something, I'm like, okay, like I can listen to that. Like, that's fine. Other people, I'm like, nah, like whatever, fuck what you have to say. I don't know if I can say fuck, but okay.
You can say whatever you want. It's a safe space.
But it's really nice. I love that part. I love knowing that it's like, for lack of a better word, like concrete in built and who and like the way that it is. So I love that piece, you know, and it's very reassuring for me. You know, it's not looking at, you know, whatever crap horoscopes they want to throw out one day or whatever. Like you're co-star. Sorry guys,
not sponsored by
sorry, not sorry. Yeah, no, future sponsorships not welcomed. It's kind of mean, but it's okay.
I don't care. We got a lot of sad
no, but seriously,
fire interview.
Having like that is it's important, you know, and like having something that's more concrete is important. That was the point. Is it not something that, okay, I could read like my fortune cookie and like that'll apply to my life today, and most of the time it will, like honestly, like that's totally fine, but it's really nice having like something where you legitimately look at my birthday, look at my birth time and say like, hey.
And I mean like something like a fortune cookie is just like a little like, no, for real, because like, I mean, look at my phone. Okay,
yeah, that's why I said it.
You can't see, but yeah, I have fortune cookies like on my phone case because
they're cute.
Like they're little synchronicities too that line up with like what's already, see, that's why astrology is a cool tool, because it's like that it is built in, like your chart is, it's there from the time you were born. That's what it is. That's how you're going to move through life. And then everything else, all the cycles and everything, thanks to astronomy, can be determined. We already know like where things are going to be like very far into the future. So you can already kind of know like how things are going to be affecting you.
And patterns. We were talking about that earlier today. Exactly. We were talking about patterns, you know. And
so like if you're aware of that stuff,
negative,
right? You're aware of like, oh, like Jupiter just moved into Aries, like I, you know, that's what this means for me in my chart. Then you get a fortune cookie that reaffirms that. That's when you're like, oh, cool. Okay, that's the synchronicity, cool. Rather than like you have no awareness of like any of this other stuff that's already like, you know, who you are and like why things affect you a certain way. But then when you do have that awareness, things start clicking and you start noticing those synchronicities and your intuition starts like getting stronger.
Well, and they're positive and negative patterns too. Like if you notice, you know, like this, like, you know, something like not so great is happening to me, like, and it seems like powerful. You have like, it's like those people who feel like, oh, I'm like, oh, things are great, and then like always something happens, always something, like why does this like one thing always happen, or like you know me, like I'm pretty much done with everything, I have a few tasks left and I'm like, oh shit, like now I gotta get like a new door to get my new lock, and I'm like, this sucks. And you know, I'll dig in and I'll look at my calendar and be like, okay, like just kind of take it with a grain of salt, like with anything. And this is, you know, no knock to you, but like the stuff that you'll learn isn't stuff that you already don't know.
No, for sure.
It's really just like you were saying, reaffirming the way that you feel. And again, it comes from within, it comes from yourself, and it comes from your placement. And it just like, for me personally, and again, it's gotta be your cup of tea, but like it helps when you're so lonely.
Right.
And rarely people understand us. It's nice to have something.
I know, because you feel like you're really out on a limb.
Yeah.
And you're like, what, like, I like, it's really just a feeling of support that you're like, I really feel like I'm just kind of out there with this, like out in space. But the thing about that is just like, okay, well, space has got you, like, and this is how, like, this is how it's like basically, you know, that's why even looking at a birth chart is like cool, because it's a wheel and it's almost like you're in the center of it and everything is kind of like cradling
you know, and another thing too,
like support you. It's remember, not there to be afraid of, you know.
You really helped me understand my daughter. So my daughter's almost 5, and she is the spitting image of me. She's just like me, like super bossy, knows what she wants, but she's also like very lackadaisical. And I can't stand it sometimes. I'm like, she's like, oh, just give me a minute, or oh, I'll be there in a minute, or I'll do that later. And I'm like, no, like do it now. And interestingly enough, she's born exactly 6 months to the day of my birthday. So I'm January 2nd, she's July 2nd. And Aaron kindly enough did like, not a reading, but you did like a chart thing for us, saying like she is you, but she's the opposite, which is 100% true. And it helped me be a better parent. Because I understood, I know she's all these wonderful, incredible parts of me, but her characteristics and the way that she acts is like not me. It's again the polar opposite. And you said, I think, was that she's the exact same but the opposite. And I'm like, oh boy. Like, oh man.
It's funny too, because it's that like Capricorn Cancer axis, which like Cancer is usually like the motherly nurturing side, and which is like slow and soft, and then Capricorn is the more of like the strict kind of like, here's like our boundaries and like discipline and like everything, and like we need to get where we're
These
going.
are the rules.
We
gotta
and,
go.
Like, Cancer is more like, oh, like let's just feel it out,
It's about me. Like it'll happen when I get there. Like,
and so it's like
she's
like here to kind of balance you out.
And she is. She truly is. And that's
right.
Like that's another piece.
And
of
you
this
as well,
too,
to her. Like you.
Right. I know. She's so like
an axis, because it works both ways.
It'll be interesting to watch us grow up together. Being a young mom,
sure.
like she's more. She's sometimes like she's like the little sister I wish I never had.
Yeah.
But she's my daughter.
Cool thing too. It's just like as a mom, like if you know more about yourself, then you can use that as a like way to bond like with your children too, and be like, oh, now I can look at your chart and kind of understand more maybe about why you act a certain way, why you have certain tendencies, or like how I can like kind of navigate around those to be a better like caretaker for you
or friend or whatever. And these things, your packages that you have, right? Like I wanted this for myself, and there's so many other business women that are so similar to me, business people, that I'm like, you need this. Like you, again, don't really need a coach. You don't need me. You need Erin.
Yeah, because it's like, it's not even just like, oh, like here's give me your birth information, and then I'll like send you an email. Like that's what I used to do for my free readings, the free stuff, which I'm no longer doing anymore because I take this very seriously. I
may or may not have had anything.
Yeah, maybe which is also
nothing for free. Don't work for free.
But anyway, for sure, freelance is not free. And so hey, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. So where was I going with that?
You're not doing the free.
So what includes is, after I get your information, schedule a consultation call, get the context of like, what do you really want to get out of this? What are your goals right now for this time period, which would be like 3 months at a time, to get those 3 different phases of like initiating things to get the goals like underway, and then having a period of focus where you're really like, okay, you're enduring all of the obstacles or whatever it may be in the middle of the season, and then at the last month you get ready to transition and adapt into a new phase. And that, whether you have completed the goal or whether you need to kind of initiate some things again to keep it going, and to
you don't always get it. You don't always finish it.
3 months
the way that it
is 3 months. You can get a lot accomplished in 3 months with that intentional focus and knowing what patterns you're in. But sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes a whole year for certain things to materialize.
The co-working space took me 2.5. Like
it's just like really kicked it into high gear the past 6 months.
Another example too is that if we purchased the building for the co-working space that I opened this week, like 2 years ago. No chart in the world would have helped me open it faster because we were living in a pandemic.
Right.
It's just the way that it is. But what did we say? We said, utilize the gift of time. And what did I do? I traveled the East Coast and I got to know other co-working spaces. I learned, and I joined other co-working spaces to see how they did things and
what you didn't want
to do. And I had a better attitude about it because I reassured myself through you and our meetings to understand, just to kind of cope better, honestly. Because I was just like so pissed that I couldn't. I'm like, oh yeah, I got the space, I'm gonna open, like what, and all this money stuff and everything. Like it's the whole process is a whole other conversation, but just knowing like, okay, utilize this time right or whatever. Even when I was going too hard, you'd be like, maybe like take a day, go sit in the sun. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, maybe I'll
let
do
that be your challenge, because it's like, if that's what you don't want to do, then like that's the challenge to yourself, is to like,
sometimes your challenge is like self-care.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. Which a lot of business-minded people who are really focused, especially you, when you're focused on like helping other people and or like extending yourself like so far, it's hard when you even do have like moments of like space and time to fill.
I have no idea.
You're
like,
what to do. You're like,
I don't know
what
what
do I do with myself?
No,
like, that's what these like are really for. Like, I mean, they're for so many other things, but like that's like when you can really like
oh, focus on your family today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Like, let's go on an adventure. And we'll
like
take a
that's
random
when
trip.
like the magic really starts happening, you know. I mean, like all the focusing on the achieving your goals and everything, that's like the bigger picture, but like little day-to-day stuff is really what adds up. Those are the little things that add up to the bigger picture. Like you have to have like your day-to-day balance and lifestyle like priorities in check to actually enjoy the success when you reach it. Otherwise, like you're gonna be like, I'm so my
What's
life is so
I'm
like, my
always just
life
like,
is so
what's
out of
next?
whack. Like I don't, like I don't even, you know what, what's the
I don't
next
even
thing?
revel in it.
Because
No, I don't.
So that's why I'm like, I'm so glad we did this, because this is a way for you to like get out a little bit and like.
I cleared my schedule today, which is weird. You know, I usually
Which wasn't even gonna happen.
Oh my god!
The universe, thank you, Mercury retrograde, for causing
a water main
break in the Airbnb that
that we were at before.
Yeah, checked into. So now we're in a different Airbnb.
But it's that's life, you know. And it was interesting. I did want to bounce back to earlier today when I'm like, you know, we were gonna originally record this earlier in the day because we were utilizing, because we have a very similar chart apparently.
Yeah.
Like our optimum hours, right? And that's also good to know. You know, people talk about, you know, your optimum work hours. For me, it's actually like 2 p.m. to like 10 p.m. if I can get it. But it's the same idea for like astrology,
and it's
right?
So funny that
we're
you
like,
say
when
that.
should we? I was like, oh my gosh, when should we record this? Do we have to do it in the morning, or like, are we good all day, or like, is there a point where we should do it like before whatever time? And you were like, no, like we're okay all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
I think we were like really doing it in the morning because you had a whole like
day
booked up. Yeah. So, but.
Well, low key use the excuse of the water main break to cancel all of those things.
Good excuse.
Hopefully they're not here. If they are, sorry.
Well, anyway, you know the story by now, so
super excited to finally have like a real like in-person like collaboration. So, you know, once this is out, I'm gonna like just blast it. I'm so excited. There's so many businesswomen, and I think business people really. There's so many people who go, oh, like I know what that is. I'm interested to learn more. And I'm like, you mean Erin? Like, just talk to her. Like it might be a little, and I'm speaking to the business-minded people here, okay? Like for real. I'm the most business-minded person you can find. Like seriously, like it's the worst. We're having a lot of fun, but it's very tunnel vision business.
She was like, okay, let's get this done because I'm not going to be able to do anything else until we get this done.
And I have to work.
Yes. Like, all right, that's fine with me.
So, but I forgot where I was going with that.
I'm sorry.
I lost it.
Business people.
Oh, it might be like a little outside of your realm, but give it a chance, because honestly, there'll be that one thing where you'll be like, oh, you know, I really don't want to go to this meeting, but your you know, your reading or what you put in our calendar will be like, try something new or go do something outside of the norm today. And I'll be like, okay, like I'll try it. And maybe it doesn't turn into a new client, but maybe it turns into they know someone who knows someone you know, and there's a collaboration opportunity there, even if they're like not like your business, or who knows, maybe it blooms a whole new business opportunity that you didn't even know existed.
You never know.
I believed in that stuff before we even got into any of this. You know, I was all like, oh, the universe, like
this is like a way for you to actually track it.
To like try.
To track it too. Because it's in your calendar, then literally will help you. You can look back on it even and like zoom out from if you know, we haven't been doing it for that long. So it's like, you know, certain, you know, planets, the only planet that really moves that fast other than the moon, which isn't a planet, is Mercury. So like, and right now it's in retrograde, so it's actually gone backwards and then go forwards again. So you need to give it some time to actually have a decent amount of, you know, events that have transpired for you to be like, okay, this is what happened during that period. Now, like, this is what was going on astrologically, and you can compare.
Well, you said
I can do that. That's what I do.
Week,
That's what I'm for.
You said my freelance week was good for me. Like that.
Yeah,
that week
it was
a good week for me.
I know.
Like it was a good week.
It was a perfect week for you to do that. Yeah.
But like sometimes maybe you shouldn't plan it that week.
I know, and like if you hadn't like had that affirmation, you might have been like disappointed and been like, oh, like it, you know, should have gone better than this. But like, you know,
I did everything in my power and everything was in the right.
Everything was as good as it could have possibly been for you to do that, and you did great. So helps you just kind of embrace the opportunities that are at hand.
I mean, with that, I mean, hey, like I'm ready to wrap it up. What's
Yeah,
like-
we need to have some dinner at some point.
We're gonna make steak. Yes. But for you and this, I hope hopefully that this is a good testament for everything that you're doing, because again, it's a perfect mixture
magical.
between business and fun and woo, or whatever
Yeah.
people want to call it.
Cool with the woo.
Cool with the woo.
I'm down with the woo.
And wow. Oh boy.
Wu-Tang.
But for real, so this
I'll be sponsored
program
by
is
Wu-Tang,
100% sponsored by Wu-Tang. We should put the shirts
sorry.
on.
Wu-Tang is for children, even. So, anyway.
But so in summary, so I've been in this for a long time, but now that I'm gonna be like basically pitching this to my friends and saying like, hey, I want to do this, 3 months, right?
Yep, it's 3 5
5
5
5
5 5
5 5 5. What's that mean again?
5
oops, sorry.
well, 5s are like stability, so
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's like
that's
protection is what
Yeah.
5 5 5 really stands
Okay,
for.
that's
When
it.
I see it, that's what I associate with
Okay.
it. So
You know, it's funny, I only looked at my clock. The last time I looked at my clock today was 222, so that's
I
awesome.
see 2 a lot.
A lot.
That's what I always put on the microwave when I heat up my
But-
heating pad. in
But
the
I mean,
morning.
3 months, 5 5 5. We came up with that together, so it's a
Yeah.
great price. It's a great deal. Like
I also do,
I
you
came
know,
up with
like individual consultations for 111. So, you know, and that's usually I'll look at like a whatever whole season we're in. So that's
Mhm.
another reason why I kind of based. it
I mean,
off of that.
honestly, this is very
This
off the
is-
wall, and I swear to God, we will wrap this up. But for people getting married or like opening a business, like you could do, you know, like your
Yeah.
one-time session, the 111, and be like,
Mhm.
okay, like when should I get married?
Yeah.
Like that's a cool thing. Or when should I
yeah.
open my business? Like I'm pretty
Mhm.
ready, but like, is there a good specific time where
Or
I'll be
even like
thriving?
what days should I like try to talk to like planners, you know, and like
Mhm.
plan things
Mhm.
out. 'Cause,
What
you know,
days should I
like,
do my
there's- when
events?
you're
Those
doing that
kinds of
kind of stuff.
things.
There's so many different aspects of planning. You
Yeah.
need to like dedicate certain time periods to like, I'm gonna use this time to plan this, and then I'm
Mhm.
gonna work focus on planning that. Like can
And there's
figure
so
that
many
out,
things
too.
in life that are like unpredictable, you know, like loss,
oh yeah.
depression. You could just randomly be depressed one day, it just happens, you know, or exhaustion, being burned out, you know,
It's
all
the
those
elements
things. And
and context of your actual life comes into play.
but
of
this is like
course.
something that's not going anywhere. It's not
Yeah.
it's not changing, and like we're saying, it's a pattern, it's cyclical.
Yeah.
So
right.
can't really beat that.
So yeah, I know.
But
Anyway,
this was
yeah.
try to keep it short and sweet for you guys.
Mhm.
Again, Rachelle, Convergence Coworking. Yeah, that's me, a freelance business week, but that's like another thing. But yeah,
I know,
reach
I
out to
feel-
me. We'll put all the other info in the show notes. There's like
Yeah.
way more about us that's not
I know,
being
because she
shared
did
here.
such a great job like promoting Freelance Business Week and that she did up in Buffalo and like the co-working space. It's all like on social media, posted very professionally. So yeah, like I feel like we probably wouldn't do more justice to it by talking about it,
Which is being
at
like,
this
oh,
point.
yeah.
Then like I will just link it to you in the description so you can go look at how beautiful everything was and all the people that were involved with it. You should
Mhm.
definitely be.
If you're ever in
checking it.
Buffalo, hey, you're all welcome. We have an Airbnb there. I love having people. Somebody will come see
Yeah.
me when it's warm.
The
it's summer.
co-working space might be where we do our next podcast episode.
I'm like,
Yes,
Yeah.
which is gorgeous. I really want to go up and see it. So if you guys are near Buffalo, New York, definitely go check
it's like
Murray
a
out.
palm get together. We can do it.
Yeah,
We'll have to check the stars.
we'll have to
see how
come
that
up with
goes.
a fun name for it. Yeah.
Palm on the lake. I already got
Hey,
it.
there you go.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
See ya.